The city floated above the planet like a crown of light. Smooth towers curved toward the sky, their surfaces alive with moving symbols and soft colors. Ships drifted silently between platforms, guided by unseen fields. To most of the galaxy, this world was a symbol of success, wealth, and perfect technology. To Lyranth the Valkyra, it felt like the loneliest place in existence. She stood beside a wide window in her private residence, looking down at the endless lights. She owned much of what she saw: trade routes, energy grids, medical research stations. Her influence reached far beyond this planet. Other beings spoke her name with respect, sometimes with fear, but none of that mattered now. Behind her, in the quiet room filled with medical devices that had long since stopped beeping, her daughter lay still. Sari Valkyra was young by their species' standards. Her skin carried the soft glow of good health, her breathing was steady, and her eyes were open, staring at the ceiling. From the neck down, she could not move. The accident had happened 3 cycles ago, a transport failure, a rare one. The kind that only happened once in millions of journeys. The kind that was studied afterward and then labeled unfortunate but unavoidable. Her spinal cord had been damaged in a way alien medicine had never learned to reverse. The neural pathways were intact but silent, like roads that no longer led anywhere. At first, Lyantha had been calm. She had money, influence, access. She summoned the best doctors from every known system. They came quickly, eager to help the most powerful financier in the sector. They tried everything: nanite reconstruction, quantum nerve bridging, artificial signal translators, experimental biofields, forbidden procedures that required secrecy and silence. Nothing worked. One by one, the doctors stopped offering solutions. Their visits grew shorter, their voices softer. Eventually, they all said the same thing in different careful words: "This is permanent." Lyantha hated that word. She had built her empire by refusing limits. When markets collapsed, she found new paths. When rivals blocked her, she went around them. When laws slowed her, she reshaped them. Permanent was a word for people without imagination. But standing beside her daughter's bed, watching Sari's eyes follow her without being able to reach for her, that word pressed down on her harder than any failure before. Sari never complained. That made it worse. She listened. She smiled. She asked about Lyantha's work, about the stars beyond the city. Sometimes she joked about racing ships again someday, as if it were still possible. The doctors said her mind was fine, perfect, even, trapped inside a body that would not respond. Lyantha had screamed once. Alone, in a soundproof chamber deep in her estate. After that, she learned to keep her face controlled. Still, she searched. One night, while reviewing yet another medical report filled with phrases like "no further progress expected," an assistant hesitantly brought something different. "It is unconventional," the assistant said, antennae twitching in discomfort. "The council would not approve." Lyantha did not look up. "Then why bring it to me?" "It involves humans." That made her pause. Humans were new to interstellar society. They were loud, emotional, and oddly confident for a species that lagged behind in raw technology. Their ships were inefficient. Their systems messy. They relied too much on manual control and individual decision-making. Most advanced species considered them interesting but unimportant. "What about them?" Lyantha asked. "There are reports," the assistant continued, "of humans treating neural injuries that other species consider irreversible. Their methods are crude: physical repetition, mental stress, time-consuming processes with low success rates by our standards." Lyantha finally turned. "Success rates," she repeated. "Not zero." The assistant hesitated. "They do not use advanced reconstruction. They adapt the existing system instead." Lyantha dismissed the assistant with a gesture. When the room was silent again, she stared at Sari. Humans. Every respected alien medical authority had failed. Perhaps it was time to stop listening to respected authorities. Within days, inquiries were made quietly, not to human governments or major institutions, but to small research groups, rehabilitation centers, and independent specialists. Lyantha did not want prestige. She wanted results. The replies surprised her. Humans did not say impossible. They asked questions. How long since the injury? Was there pain, sensation? Could the patient feel pressure, temperature, emotion? Had anyone tried long-term adaptive training? They spoke of something called neuroplasticity, the idea that the brain could change itself, even after severe damage. That pathways could be rebuilt not by machines alone, but by effort, repetition, and belief. Belief was not a recognized medical factor in Lyantha's culture. A meeting was arranged. The human delegation arrived in a modest transport. No shining hull, no ceremonial display. Just a group of humans carrying cases and tablets, looking around with open curiosity rather than awe. Their lead specialist was older, with visible lines on his face. His movements were calm. His eyes were sharp. He listened more than he spoke. As alien doctors explained the injury using complex models and energy projections, the human nodded, occasionally asking for clarification. When they finished, the room waited. Finally, he spoke. "You stopped because your tools couldn't fix it," he said simply. "That doesn't mean it can't be fixed." The alien doctors bristled. One spoke sharply about biological limits and proven data. Another dismissed human medicine as outdated. The human did not argue. He turned to Lyantha instead. "We don't promise miracles," he said. "We promise effort, time, pain, frustration, and maybe progress." Lyantha studied him. "Maybe," she said, "is more than I have been offered in a long time." The council protested. Human involvement risked embarrassment. If it failed, it would confirm every low opinion held about both humans and Lyantha's judgment. She did not care. A controlled trial was approved. Limited access. Full monitoring. The humans would not be allowed to perform invasive procedures. They accepted the conditions without complaint. When the first session began, Sari was nervous. So was Lyantha, though she hid it well. The humans did not bring advanced machines. They brought simple devices, supports, sensors, and something strange, patience. They spoke to Sari directly, not over her. They explained every step. They asked her how she felt. They treated her like a participant, not a subject. The first goal was simple, ridiculously simple. "Try to move your fingers," the human specialist said gently. Sari looked embarrassed. "I can't," she said. "I've tried." "I know," he replied. "Try anyway." Nothing happened again. Nothing. Minutes passed. Alien observers exchanged glances. This was pointless. Then, almost too small to measure, one finger twitched. The sensors noticed before anyone else. The room went silent. Sari stared at her hand. The human specialist smiled, not with triumph but with calm satisfaction. "There it is," he said. "That's the door, now we push." Lyantha felt something break inside her chest, not fully. Just enough to let hope leak in. For the first time since the accident, the future no longer looked completely dark. The small movement of Sari's finger should not have mattered. By alien medical standards, it meant nothing. It was not strength, not control, not recovery. It was noise in a damaged system. That was what the observers told themselves as they filed their reports and sent quiet messages to the council. But to Lyantha, it mattered more than any medical chart she had ever read. She did not sleep that cycle. She sat beside Sari's bed, replaying the moment again and again in her mind. The way Sari's eyes had widened, the way her breath had caught, the way the human specialist had reacted as if this tiny movement were not an accident but a promise. The next session began early. The humans insisted on consistency. Same time, same order, same calm environment. They said the brain learned best when it felt safe and familiar. This idea confused the alien doctors. Safety was a condition of facilities, not a treatment method. Sari was tired before they even started. Moving a finger or trying to had drained her more than she expected. The human specialist explained that effort itself was work. The brain was waking up muscles it had forgotten how to talk to. They began again. Move the fingers. Nothing, try again, nothing. Minutes turned into an hour, sweat formed along Sari's temples, her jaw tightened. Once frustration rose so strongly that tears filled her eyes. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I'm trying." The human knelt so he was level with her face. "Trying is the job," he said. "Results come later." Lyantha watched from the side, her claws clenched behind her back. Every instinct told her to stop this, to protect her child from pain, but she had already learned that comfort had never healed Sari. By the end of the session, there were no more movements. The observers were ready to call the first twitch a random signal. The humans were not discouraged. They adjusted nothing. They returned the next day and did it again. Days passed, then weeks. Some days Sari could move one finger, some days none at all. The inconsistency was maddening. Alien doctors whispered that the process was unstable and inefficient. They asked for scans, proof, certainty. The humans asked Sari how she felt. She began to describe strange sensations. Tingling, pressure, a sense of heat where there should have been nothing. These reports were logged but not valued by alien standards. Sensation without function was considered meaningless. To humans, it was progress. They expanded the exercises, fingers to wrist, wrist to forearm. Each step was slow, careful, and exhausting. Sari's body shook with effort. Her mind grew tired before her muscles ever did. There were days she wanted to quit. One day, she finally said it. "I don't want to do this anymore," she said quietly after failing to repeat a movement she had achieved the day before. "It hurts, and it feels like lying to myself." The room froze. Alien staff prepared to end the session. A patient's refusal was final. Pushing beyond it was considered unethical. The human specialist did something unexpected. He sat down on the floor. "When I was younger," he said, "I broke my leg in 3 places. Doctors said I would walk but not the same way, that I should accept it. I almost did." Sari listened. "But one day I realized something," he continued. "Accepting limits is a choice. Sometimes it's the right one. Sometimes it's just the easy one." He did not tell her to continue. He did not guilt her. He simply asked, "What do you want to choose today?" Sari was silent for a long time. Then she said, "I want to try again." The council grew increasingly uneasy. Reports showed small but undeniable changes. Neural activity was increasing. Pathways were forming in unpredictable patterns. The brain was not repairing itself the correct way. It was improvising. Improvisation frightened alien medicine. They called emergency meetings. They questioned the humans. They demanded projections. The human response was simple. "We don't know how far this can go," they said. "Neither do you." Lyantha supported them fully. She redirected funding. She silenced critics. She reminded the council that no other method had produced even a single finger movement. Public attention began to stir. Whispers spread among elites. Some mocked Lyantha for trusting a primitive species. Others watched closely, hoping for success they could later claim they supported. Sari became stronger in small ways. She could now move 3 fingers together. Her wrist responded inconsistently, but it responded. She learned to focus not on the movement but on the feeling before it. The humans taught her to imagine the action clearly, over and over, even when nothing happened. "Your brain listens before your body does," they told her. One session, while working on wrist rotation, something unexpected happened. Sari felt a deep pressure in her arm that made her gasp. "I feel it," she said, voice shaking, "all the way up to my elbow." The sensors confirmed a surge of activity. Alien doctors stared at the data in disbelief. This level of response had never been recorded after such an injury, not without invasive reconstruction. The human specialist nodded slowly. "Good," he said. "That means the message is getting through." Progress came with a cost. Sari's body ached constantly. She slept deeply and woke exhausted. Some days her emotions were unstable. She laughed too easily or cried without warning. The humans explained that rebuilding neural pathways affected mood and stress regulation. The aliens had no treatment for this. Humans did. They taught breathing techniques, mental focus exercises, simple habits to reduce overload. None of it involved machines. Lyantha began to notice something else. Sari was changing, not just physically. She was more present, more determined. She began to take control of her own schedule, requesting longer sessions or shorter ones based on how she felt. She argued politely with doctors who tried to limit her. She was no longer waiting to be saved. The turning point came during a routine scan review. An alien neurologist stood in silence, staring at the display far longer than protocol required. "This should not exist," he finally said. The scan showed a new neural route completely bypassing the damaged area. It was inefficient, messy, but active. The human specialist smiled faintly. "It doesn't need to be perfect," he said. "It just needs to work." The council could no longer deny it. The treatment was expanded. Security was tightened. The risk of leaks increased with every success. Sari knew what people were saying. She knew she was becoming a symbol. That frightened her more than the therapy. "I just want to walk," she told her mother one evening, "not be proof of something." Lyantha took her hand. "You are allowed to be both," she said softly. Late one night, long after observers had left, Sari asked a question that surprised everyone. "Do you think," she said to the human specialist, "that I could try moving my legs?" The room went very quiet. The human did not answer immediately. Then he said, "Yes. But when we do, everything will get harder." Sari nodded. "Then let's start." And somewhere deep within a body long declared silent, something listened. The first time Sari tried to move her legs, nothing happened. That was expected. Even the humans did not hope for immediate results. The damage in her lower body was far worse than in her arms. Entire sections of neural signal had gone quiet long ago. Alien medicine had marked them as permanently lost. Still, the humans believed that silence did not always mean absence. They began carefully, very carefully. At first, Sari did not try to move at all. She only focused on feeling, pressure, temperature, weight. The humans placed soft supports under her legs and adjusted them slowly, asking her to describe anything she noticed. "Warmth," she said once, uncertain. "Or maybe memory of warmth." "That's enough," the human specialist replied. "The brain doesn't care where the signal starts, only that it starts." Days passed like this. Quiet days, slow days, days that tested patience more than strength. Alien observers found it difficult to stay engaged. There were no dramatic movements, no sudden changes. Just a young woman lying still, eyes closed, breathing carefully while humans spoke to her in calm, steady voices. But something was happening. Sari began to feel pressure consistently. Not strong, not clear, but real. She could tell when a hand rested on her leg. She could tell when it was lifted away. That alone shook the alien doctors. Sensation returning after this long was unheard of. The council demanded explanations. The humans had none that fit alien models. "Your systems expect repair," the human specialist said during one tense meeting. "We expect adaptation. Different assumptions lead to different results." Some council members accused the humans of false hope, of psychological tricks, of manipulating perception. The humans did not argue. They simply invited the critics to watch the sessions closely. Sari's training became harder. Once sensation stabilized, they introduced assisted movement. Machines did the lifting, but Sari controlled the timing. She learned to send the signal even if the body did not respond fully. Humans believed effort mattered even when the result was invisible. "Every attempt teaches the brain," they told her. Sari believed them. She had to. Some days were unbearable. Her muscles cramped painfully. Her nerves sent confused signals that made her feel too hot, too cold, too heavy all at once. Sleep did not always bring rest. Sometimes it brought dreams where she could run, only to wake trapped again. On those days, Lyantha stayed close. She held Ceri's hand during sessions, even when told she did not need to. She learned the exercises so she could help when the humans were gone. For the first time in years, her schedule revolved around something other than profit and power. She did not mind. The galaxy, however, was losing patience. Rumors leaked despite security, footage of finger movements, wrist control, medical scans showing abnormal activity. Public reaction was divided. Some praised human ingenuity. Others mocked the idea that repetition and emotion could rival advanced technology. A few accused Lyantha of staging the entire thing to elevate her political influence. Lyantha ignored them all. Then came the day everything almost ended. Ceri had been pushing hard, too hard. She wanted progress faster than her body could handle. During a session focused on hip movement, a sudden wave of pain hit her so sharply that she screamed. The room erupted in chaos. Machines beeped. Alien doctors rushed forward. The humans froze, then stepped back, allowing medical staff to stabilize her. For several terrifying moments, no one knew if they had caused permanent harm. Ceri lost consciousness. Lyantha stood motionless, her mind blank with fear. Hours later, Ceri woke. She was weak, shaking but alive. Scans showed no new damage. In fact, they showed something else. The neural activity had spiked dramatically just before the pain. The alien doctors were shaken. She overloaded the system, one said. This proves the method is dangerous. The human specialist nodded. Yes, he said quietly, it is. That answer shocked everyone. Then why continue? A council member demanded. Because danger does not mean wrong, the human replied. It means we need better balance. The treatment paused for several days. Ceri was angry at first, angry at her body, angry at the limits, angry at the fear that now hovered over every decision. But during the rest, something unexpected happened. She noticed that she could feel her legs even without training, faintly but constantly. A low awareness that had never existed before. When the sessions resumed, they adjusted everything. Slower pace, shorter durations, more rest. And then one quiet morning during a routine exercise, Ceri felt something different, not sensation. Movement. It was small. So small she almost dismissed it. I think, she said hesitantly, my foot moved. The human specialist did not celebrate, he did not rush. Again, he said gently. Ceri focused. She imagined the movement. She remembered how it felt to walk long ago. She pushed not with strength but with intention. Her toes curled. This time everyone saw it. Silence filled the room. Alien doctors stared as if reality itself had betrayed them. Some checked sensors, convinced the movement was mechanical. It was not. Ceri laughed, then cried, then laughed again. I did it, she said. I actually did it. The humans allowed themselves small smiles. They knew better than to celebrate too early. From that day forward, progress accelerated. Once the brain found a working path, it reinforced it aggressively. Movement remained weak and inconsistent, but it was real. Foot to ankle, ankle to lower leg. Each gain brought new challenges. Balance was non-existent. Control came and went. Frustration returned often. But quitting was no longer an option. Ceri began to sit upright with support. Her core muscles screamed in protest. Her body felt foreign, like it belonged to someone else. You're learning yourself again, the humans explained. That takes time. The council's resistance weakened. Some members still doubted, but the evidence was undeniable. Something extraordinary was happening, and it was happening without their machines. They approved expanded access, more human specialists, more time. Lyantha noticed a shift in how others treated the humans, not openly respectful but cautious, curious, as if a previously ignored species had revealed teeth. Sari noticed something else. When she struggled, the humans struggled with her. They did not detach emotionally. They did not hide behind protocol. When she succeeded, they celebrated quietly. When she failed, they stayed. Alien doctors observed this with confusion. Medicine to them was process. Humans treated it like partnership. One evening, after a long day, Sari sat supported at the edge of her bed, legs dangling. "I used to think my life ended that day," she said softly. "Now it feels like it just changed direction." Lyantha knelt in front of her. "Whatever direction it takes," she said, "I will walk it with you," Sari smiled. "Careful," she teased weakly. "I might walk faster than you someday." They laughed together, and for the first time it sounded normal. Deep within Sari's body, pathways strengthened, not clean, not efficient, but alive. The impossible was no longer a question of if. Only how far Ohm was larger than the earlier therapy chambers. That was not by choice but by necessity. More observers were allowed now, more sensors, more safeguards. The council said it was for safety. Everyone knew it was also because they were afraid to miss history. Sari sat, at the center of it all, secured in a tall support frame that held most of her weight. Soft braces wrapped around her legs. Thin cables tracked every movement, every signal. The floor beneath her was smooth and clean, marked with subtle lines that measured distance. Lyantha stood near the wall, hands clasped tightly together. She had attended every session before, but this one felt different, heavy, final. Today the humans had said Sari would try something new, standing without assistance. Not walking, not yet, just standing. Alien doctors had argued strongly against it. The risk of collapse, the risk of shock, the risk of undoing months of progress. In their models it was too soon. The humans listened, adjusted safety systems, and then said the same thing they always did. "If she waits until it's safe, she'll wait forever." Sari heard all of it. She always did. "How many times can I fall?" she asked quietly while the technicians adjusted the frame. The human specialist looked at her. "As many as it takes," he said, "as long as you choose to get up again." The frame slowly loosened, transferring more weight to Sari's legs. The pressure was immediate and intense. Her muscles trembled violently, unused to the responsibility placed on them. Her breathing grew shallow. "Focus," the human said calmly. "Not on standing, on balance. Feel the ground. Let it hold you." Sari closed her eyes. For a moment fear surged through her. Memories of lying helpless flooded back. The body remembered failure more easily than success. Her knees buckled. The safety field engaged instantly, preventing a fall. The alien doctors exhaled in relief. Some looked almost smug. But Sari did not cry. She did not apologize. She asked, "Can we try again?" The frame reset. Once more the support eased away. Once more her legs shook. This time she lasted longer, seconds instead of moments. Her feet pressed into the floor. She felt the solidness of it, the certainty. Then her right leg gave out. Again the safety systems caught her. Sweat ran down her face. Her arms shook as badly as her legs. Standing, she realized, was harder than any movement she had learned so far. "This is stupid," she muttered, frustrated. "I used to do this without thinking." The human specialist nodded. "You're not doing it without thinking anymore," he said. "You're doing it with everything you have." The third attempt was worse. Her legs refused to cooperate. Signals crossed, muscles fired out of order, pain flared sharply through her hips and spine. "Stop," one alien doctor said sharply. "This is enough for today." Sari opened her eyes and looked at her mother. Lyantha did not speak. She only nodded once. Sari turned back. "One more," she said. The room went very quiet. The humans adjusted the frame one last time. They did not encourage her. They did not warn her. They trusted her decision. The support released. Sari leaned forward slightly, instinctively. Her arms extended, searching for balance that was no longer there. Her legs screamed. Every part of her body told her to stop, to sit, to let the machines take over. She ignored them. Her left leg locked first. Not smoothly, not strongly, but enough. Her right leg followed, shaking so badly it blurred in the sensors. For one long, impossible second, Sari Valcora stood on her own, then another, then another. The room did not move. The floor did not disappear. Gravity did not betray her. She was standing. Lyantha screamed. It was not a controlled sound. It was not dignified. It tore out of her chest without permission, full of disbelief and joy and years of pain released all at once. The sound echoed through the chamber. Sari laughed, breathless and wild. "Mom," she said, "I'm standing." Her knees began to buckle again. Before anyone could intervene, Sari did something no one expected. She took a step. It was small, awkward. Her foot barely cleared the floor, but it moved forward and her weight followed it. The safety field caught her a moment later, gently lowering her back into the frame. But it was too late. Everyone had seen it. The room exploded into noise. Voices overlapped. Data streamed wildly. Alien doctors shouted orders that no longer mattered. The humans stood still, eyes bright, expressions carefully restrained. They had hoped for standing. Walking was a miracle. Within hours, the footage leaked. No one ever discovered how. Perhaps someone wanted credit. Perhaps someone wanted chaos. Perhaps the truth was simply too big to contain. The video spread across the galaxy. A wealthy alien heiress, long declared permanently paralyzed, standing and taking a step under human guidance. Public reaction was immediate and violent. Some called it fraud. Others called it divine. Medical councils across dozens of worlds demanded access to the data. Political leaders demanded explanations. Human representatives were overwhelmed overnight. Lyantha did not care. She sat beside Sari's bed that night, holding her hand while exhaustion pulled her daughter into deep sleep. "You scared me," Lyantha whispered softly. Sari smiled faintly without opening her eyes. "Good," she murmured. "That means it was real." The next days were overwhelming. Sari was no longer allowed privacy. Every session required approval. Security doubled. Media requests flooded in from every direction. The council attempted to slow things down, to regain control of the narrative. They framed the event as promising but incomplete. They warned against false hope. The humans said nothing publicly. They returned to work. Walking was not a switch. It was not something Sari could suddenly do at will. Each step required total concentration. Balance was fragile, her legs tired quickly. She fell often. Each fall hurt less than the last. The humans taught her how to fall safely, how to recover, how to trust the process. Alien doctors watched, uneasy. Failure to them was a sign to stop. Humans treated it like feedback. Lyantha noticed something else as well. Other patients were watching, quietly at first, then openly. Families of those with irreversible injuries began requesting human consultations. They asked questions that alien medicine had never prepared to answer. Why were we told this was impossible? The council delayed, debated, argued. Reality did not wait. Sari took her first unassisted steps a week later, only 3, from one support rail to another. But she did it without machines holding her weight. She collapsed afterward, laughing and crying at the same time. "I hate this," she said breathlessly. "I love this. I hate that I love this." The human specialist smiled. "That means you're alive," he said. The story continued to spread. Humanity's reputation changed quietly, unevenly. Some worlds still mocked them. Others began to listen. Lyantha made a decision. She called a private meeting with the council and announced that she would fund a permanent human-led rehabilitation institute. Not as an experiment, not as a favor, as policy. "You can join," she told them calmly, "or you can explain to the galaxy why you refused hope." The council did not answer immediately. They did not need to. Weeks later, Sari stood in front of a wide window, supported only by a simple cane. The city glowed beneath her, the same as it always had, but she was seeing it from a different height. Lyantha stood beside her, eyes shining. "I screamed," she said quietly, embarrassed now. "In front of everyone," Sari laughed softly. "You earned it." They stood together, mother and daughter, as ships passed silently beyond the glass. And somewhere across the stars, countless beings watched the same footage and wondered, for the first time, if impossible was just another word humans refused to accept. The first day Sari walked outside, the sky felt too big. She stood at the edge of a wide balcony that opened into a public garden suspended above the city. The air was warm and carefully balanced, carrying the scent of alien flowers designed to calm the mind. Below, layers of light and movement stretched endlessly. It was the same view she had seen for years through glass. This time there was no chair beneath her. She held a cane in one hand. Her other hand rested lightly on a railing, more for comfort than support. Her legs trembled, not from weakness alone, but from awareness. Every step she had taken to reach this place had required attention, balance, breath, control. Lyantha stood a short distance away, watching without hovering. She had learned that hovering made Sari tense. "You don't have to go far," Lyantha said gently. "I know," Sari replied. "But I want to." She took a step forward, then another. Each movement sent a quiet signal through her body, like a message being repeated and confirmed. The ground stayed where it was supposed to be. Her legs listened. By the time she reached the center of the garden, tears were running down her face. Not because it hurt, because it worked. The galaxy did not slow down for miracles. News channels debated endlessly. Medical councils argued over language. Some tried to claim that alien science had laid the groundwork and humans had simply finished the job. Others insisted the case was unique and could not be repeated. Then the second patient stood. Then the third. Different species, different injuries, different histories. Not all walked. Some only regained sensation. Some learned to sit up. Some gained control that improved quality of life without dramatic visuals. The humans never promised more than effort. That honesty became their strength. The Rehabilitation Institute opened quietly on Lyantha's world, housed not in a tower, but in a wide, open structure filled with natural light. Humans worked alongside alien doctors who were willing to learn. Those who were not willing slowly stopped being invited. Sari visited often. At first she came as a patient, later as a symbol she did not ask to be, eventually as something else, a guide. She spoke to those who were afraid, those who were angry, those who were tired of being told to accept less. "I don't know how far you'll go," she told them honestly. "I didn't know how far I would go either, but I know this, doing nothing never helped me." Her words carried weight because they were lived. Lyantha watched her daughter become someone new. Not the fearless racer she once was, not the broken figure she had feared she would remain. Something steadier, human. Even though Sari was not human, that truth unsettled parts of the galaxy more than the medical results. Humans were invited to conferences they had never been allowed to attend before. Their methods were studied, copied, and sometimes misunderstood. Many tried to strip away the emotional elements and keep only the physical techniques. Those programs failed. The humans noticed a pattern. Where alien systems focused on efficiency, humans focused on persistence. Where alien medicine sought certainty, humans accepted uncertainty as part of the process. One council member finally asked the question that had been avoided for too long. Why do humans keep trying when logic says the outcome is unlikely? The human specialist, older now and visibly tired, answered simply, "Because someone has to." Sari walked without a cane after a year, not perfectly, not always confidently, but freely. Her gait was uneven on bad days. On good days, she forgot to think about it at all. She learned when to push and when to rest. She learned that progress was not a straight line. She also learned that the world watched her every move. That part never got easier. One afternoon, she met with Lyantha in a quiet room overlooking the institute. "They're calling it the human method," Sari said, frustrated, like it belongs to them alone. Lyantha smiled faintly. Names are how the galaxy understands things, she said. Even if they're imperfect. It's not fair, Sari insisted. This worked because everyone worked. Humans, aliens, me. Yes, Lyantha agreed, but humans showed us what we refused to see. Sari looked out at the garden where patients practiced movement, supported by staff from many species. They refused to accept no, she said slowly. They refused to accept silence, Lyantha corrected. The distinction mattered. Years passed. The Institute became a model replicated across systems. Some places embraced it fully. Others adapted it cautiously. A few resisted until public pressure forced change. Humanity's status shifted without ceremony. They were no longer the strange newcomers with inefficient ships. They became the species called when hope ran out, when machines failed, when logic reached its limits, not because humans were stronger, because they were stubborn. Sari's story faded from headlines eventually. New cases replaced it, new arguments, new breakthroughs. She was grateful. She returned to racing once, just once, on a controlled track designed for safety. She did not win. She did not care. Crossing the finish line under her own power was enough. Later that day, she sat beside her mother on a quiet balcony, the same one where this journey had begun. "Do you ever wish you had listened to them?" Sari asked. "When they said it was permanent," Lyantha shook her head. "If I had," she said, "I would have lost you long before I almost did." Sari smiled and leaned her head against her mother's shoulder. Below them, ships moved through the sky like slow, patient thoughts. Somewhere far away, a being just told their child that recovery was impossible. And somewhere else, a human quietly asked a different question. What if we try anyway? That question spread, not as a command, not as a promise, but as an invitation. And the galaxy, slowly and unevenly, began to answer.